I wanted to show you the process I went through to select the colors that were going to go into my Podparacha Sapphire, my glowing, fiery lotus color sapphire. The rest of you are going to be doing pink tourmalines unless you choose to do something different. But I wanted to do something with a little bit of a spin on it. I took my cue from our pattern. On the second page of the pattern, you'll always find the color chart. And with the pink tourmaline, I had, in addition to black and white, I had separated into two colors. Basically, we have pink. We have three values of pink: a pale, a light, and a medium tone. And here you can see those values: pale, a light, and a medium tone. Really no dark pinks per se. And then we went to L's for lavender. And we can see we went from a light hue to a more of a medium hue. We really didn't have much of a gradual progression there, but from light to a medium, another medium, a little bit darker, and darker still. So 5 values of our lavender. Now, what I decided to do was preserve the pink. And so I've labeled this pink down here, these 3, and wanted to change the lavender to amber or gold tones. And I found the perfect fabric for that. Here I have a fabric where I'm going to get lots of different values out of it, right? Up here, I could get some light values of the amber, and then it flows into light values of the pink. And then it goes into more medium values, and then a darker value. And here in the amber side of it, it goes from a light to more of a medium tone, a darker still, and then into this wonderful fiery red. Now, I also have fabric that's even darker still that I painted. So I could even include some of this wonderful stuff for my higher values, the L5s. And here's the result. Here are the 5 values of the L or lavender, but in my case, they're going to be amber. So L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5. And the 3 values of the pinks, P1, P2, and P3. Now you can see with the pinks, you see obviously it goes from a progression of a lighter value to a more medium value and to a darker value still. With the L1, same situation. Goes from the lightest value to a more medium value, a medium value still, a little bit darker, and then the darkest of all. Now take a look at L4. Look at the selections of what I picked out for L4. You can see there's a little bit of a variation in the hue, correct? So for example, 7-4, P7-4, looks like it has a little bit more reddish color to it, whereas 7-8, also an L4, has more of an orange, a brown color to it. That's okay. Bottom line is, the key here is they both have the same value. They both have about the same value. They're in between L5 and L3. Even though they have a little bit different color or hue, it will work because they have the same value. So let's take a look at L5. L5 is the edge of one of the sections. Do you see this lovely curve right here? Let me show you how I managed to cut out that curve. Here we have examples of pieces in section 4 that have some curves to them. This one obviously is the background piece. I'm using here a smoke gray from Paintbrush Studio Fabrics. And then we have these little guys, section 4, piece 4-7, 4-4, and 4-4-1, that have a really gentle curve on the outside of them. So there's a couple ways you can handle this gentle curve. You can either take your ruler and draw in the 1/4 inch seam allowance with your fabric chalk and then cut it out with your hand scissors. Or you can just simply take your ruler and use your rotary cutter and do it as you move through. So let's do on section 4-4, let's do the one with the fabric chalk pencil first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the 1/4 inch seam guide of my ruler to the very edge. Do you see the very edge of my paper facet, my freezer paper facet? I'm going to line that up at the top. Then I'm going to place my point of my fabric pencil there, and I am going to just simply pull down, and then rock my ruler as I move. You see, I pull and then I rock that ruler around to the left, following that curve, and I pull down my pencil, rock it around a little bit more, right? Very much opposite where that ruler is touching the edge of the freezer paper is where I want to be sure that my fabric pencil is. And again, when we do it with a rotary cutter, we're just going to be using the blade of a rotary cutter instead of the chalk of the fabric pencil. So let's keep going. I'm going to rock this, and you see I'm rocking it against the tip of my fabric pencil, and following the curve, I'm going to pull it down again, rock against this point, pull it down, rock, pull it down, rock, pull it down, rock, pull it down. And when I take it away, I should see a pretty darn good line. And then I can take my handy dandy scissors and I can just carefully cut along the line that I've just scribed. There you go. You've got a nice 1/4 inch seam allowance right there. This is going to be a curve in the other direction. This is going to be your concave curve. It's just the same concept though. I'm going to put my edge of my ruler, the 1/4 inch seam allowance at the top here at the very edge. I'm going to make sure it aligns. I'm going to drop my rotary cutter at the parallel to the point at which it meets the freezer paper edge, and I'm going to pull it down. And then when I get to the point where I need to rock it the opposite way, I'm rocking it to the right, and then I'm going to pull it down, rocking it to the right, rocking it to the right, and here we go. There I have a nice gentle curve that follows the curve of my freezer paper facet. I've cut out all the pieces in section 4, and now you can see that I have laid them out in my piece plan. So I have 4-1 and 4-2 as a unit I'm going to sew together, 4-3 and 4-4. Then I'm going to sew 4-5, 4-6, and 4-7 together, 4-8, 4-9. I'm going to do 4-11 and 4-12 and attach 4-10 to that, and then I'll put them all together. Once I get this section sewn together, I will then add 4-14 and 4-13. But before I do that, I'm going to take the freezer paper off of the sewn together units. Not only this unit, but these as well. Because it's very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult to begin to ease in those curves when you have freezer paper on them. But before you take that freezer paper off, friends, remember what we talked about? What we need to do is extend these hash marks into the seam allowance. So I'm going to do that right now, show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to extend that hash mark into the seam allowance right here. And you know, the other thing I like to do is just kind of identify the tip of the point by doing a little caret right there. Oh, here's another one on the edge. Don't forget that one. And here's a little tip. I'm going to do a little caret right there, just saying, hey, this is the tip. Oh, I need to bring that into focus, don't I? So here's the caret. There's the caret. Okay, let's go over to this one. So here's the tip. I'm going to put a little mark just to mark the edge of the piece. Then I'm going to extend these hash marks. Here's another hash mark. I'm going to extend that one in. Here's the edge of the piece. Here's another hash mark. Okay, very good. Now, once I get all of this together, I can extend these hash marks too, or I could do that right now. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and extend these hash marks in. Probably will you do that one in a little bit darker color. Let's do that in a darker, maybe in a little blue, you know, not too obvious. All right, here's another, that's going to be in another blue as well. Okay. This way I won't forget to do this. All right, good deal, folks. So I have extended the hash marks into the seam allowances all around this curve, and also the hash marks into the seam allowances of the background pieces. Let's start sewing. So I've been spending a little time this morning sewing up units of section 4. It's upside down, but this is how I'm going to actually sew along this line. This is my next seam I'm going to put together. You can see here that I actually went off the line. Do you see how I'm cutting, and I went off the line a little bit right here. You can see that this is the line I should have been on, but my ruler slipped when I was cutting apart my freezer paper. But that's okay. Why? Because what I have added here, I've taken off here, but I can still see the hash mark on the other side. This hash mark now extends into that side, so I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and line up these 2 units and sew them together. Then I will go ahead and put this guy next to this one, and we will have our rounded edge of our pink tourmaline, or in my case, my sapphire. And then we'll put on our 2 edges, and we'll show you how to manage that curve. Peek, pinch, and pin. Lining up my hash marks. I usually like to start in the middle and then move the way out. Okay, that lines up beautifully. I'm going to go ahead and drop a pin right there. Now you can also use clips or glue. Going to pop over to this side now. Line up those hash marks. There you go, perfect. Drop a pin in. Just stuck myself. Sometimes I feel like I'm a human pin cushion some days. Do you ever feel that way? Oh my goodness. All right, I'm ready to sew. Right, I'm going to find my 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is the little hash mark right there. I'm going to line up my unit right next to that and then pull it over just a bee's sneeze. Let's open it up and see what we have. All right, I did fine down here, but I started out, caught it a little bit. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to just kind of pull this apart and dig that out at the end of the day. Let's keep going. I have the full unit sewn together with the exception of the background pieces. I have already extended my hash marks into the seam allowance on both sides of that curve. And so now is the fun part. Now I get to take all these freezer papers off and see the colors emerge. This is one of my favorite parts of the whole process. You know, I say that a lot about the parts of the process. Oh, a little thing right there. I'll go ahead and dig that out a little bit later. There we go. Oh, look at that pink. Next to that brown and the corals. See, and this is what happens. You just grab it, use the tweezers if you've got them handy. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. There we go. One of my favorite things to do is to put facets across color washes like this. Very, very fun. Again, the color wash here. Again, a color wash right here. All right, now let's go ahead and take 414. All right, so this is the piece we're going to line up. Do you see where the hash marks come together? This is such a gentle curve that I'm not even going to worry about clipping the seams. Okay, and in many cases, if you have a real arc, you'll want to clip the seams of the inside curve so that when you lay it on top of your neck piece underneath, you can actually manipulate it a little bit and get those hash marks to lay up beautifully. But in this case, you're not going to need to do that, I don't think. Now, you may want to do it in, for example, the peridot and the garnet, but we'll get to that down the road. think I'm going to cut off that little piece. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to just line up the hash marks. And again, I like to line up the hash marks about in the middle. Okay. Do you see? There's the hash marks. I'm going to drop that right there and grab a pin, put it in place. Let's find the next hash mark. I think there's a little blue mark and there's a little chalk mark on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and line up the top there, drop in a pin. And I'm probably going to go ahead and drop in some pins in between just to preserve that nice curve. Let's go ahead and line up the edges there and drop in some pins. All right, I'll be right back. Hi, I'm back, and here's my curve. I went ahead and just slowed my roll all the way around here and made that very gentle curve. Now I'm going to open it up, iron it, and there you have it. Here's my second curve. Not bad. I'm going to go ahead and iron it. I'm going to flip it over this way and iron it, and I'll be right back. And here we go. It's the way to manage these nice, gentle curves. Nothing fancy, nothing special. I'm probably going to go in and start pulling out my little pieces of fabric before I forget about them. Maybe work on it a little bit more tomorrow, and I'll show you the finished product on Facebook. Have fun, you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.